We have an OG Booktok book. I love these. I have been trying to find this series secondhand for about 10 years. I actually just finished this last week. I thought for getting this in like a 3 for $2 deal, like you absolutely cannot go wrong. I love this edition of Charlotte's Web. I found it at like one of those little free libraries around my area. I just saw that it was Riley Sager and I grabbed it. First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. We have got another book haul for you guys, and in this video specifically, they are books that I have found secondhand. So whether that means through op shops, library discards, from like free little libraries around my local area, they are all in this video here. These books have been collected for probably like the past 6 months. Some of these books I had read prior to purchasing, and some of them I have read from the time that I've purchased and filming this video. Not all of these are going onto my physical TBR. Without further ado, let's jump into this video. We could start with maybe the fantasy section. So I have quite a lot of fantasy books. Starting off, we have an OG Booktok book, The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. It just says knowledge is carnage. It seems like there is a competition which magicians are invited to compete in. It seems like it's a story of potentially enemies to lovers. One of them is a telepath and one of them is an empath who can manipulate the desires of others, and then there's one that seems to be able to mystify himself and his powers. They travel to London where they study, so it just seems like they might be going through the school as well, so it sounds really fascinating. Again, I know a lot of people absolutely love this book and love this series, so I'm intrigued to see what I think. This one was from the Salvation Army in Glen Innes and it was $3. When we went in to get this, they had like a deal on their books, so quite a lot of the books that I've got in this video were from that deal. Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It just says one library, infinite lives. Again, this one is like quite an OG like Booktok book, and I'm pretty sure that this library contains like books that have people's life story in there, and you can like go to it and read like all about your life. It tells of like your future events and stuff, so that just fascinates me. I'm really hoping that I like this because I know that it's got mixed reviews. I do apologize if you can hear my cat cleaning herself in the background. This one was $4 from the Cranford Hospice in Napier in Hawke's Bay. So I've got a mix of books from Hawke's Bay and books that I found up here in Auckland, and some that I've got from Tauranga as well. We have a couple of graphic novels, and both of these I have actually read. Also, just as a side note, if you have watched my bookshelf tour, some of these books will be double ups and some of them have been purchased since filming different videos. These Twilight graphic novels by Stephanie Meyer and the art is by Young Kim. I love these, and when you put them together they like make a picture, which I just think is so cool. So we actually have these displayed on our bookshelf. I really like the graphics in them, and they have color as well to like signify like different things. I just think the graphics in these are done so well, and it's like the complete Twilight novel. One book takes place over 2 novels, and I know that they've done the same for New Moon as well, but I actually read this one when I was in high school, and I don't know if my library in Hawke's Bay had this second one or not, so I was very happy to find these in the op shop. I found these in the Panmure Habitat for Humanity up here in Auckland. They were $2 each, and it was an absolute no-brainer. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get these. And if you watched my mid-year reading wrap-up, then you'll know that I then read part 2 as well. So both of these books I have now read, which is fantastic. The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare. So Magnus Bane is a character that you meet in definitely City of Ashes. I can't remember if you meet him in City of Bones. You might do. He is involved in the Shadowhunters world, and I'm pretty sure this story is just his book. yeah, I haven't finished the Mortal Instruments series or like that world. I've only read the first 2 books. I love Cassandra Clare's writing. There's also like some pictures in here as well, which is kind of cool. This one again was from the Panmure Habitat for Humanity and it was $2. Again, found it in the same trip as those Twilight graphic novels. Sticking with Cassandra Clare, I also found Swordcatcher. Now this one here was a new release, I think last year, and I heard Rachel Catherine talk about this. One was raised to rule, one was trained to die. So you're following this girl who is an orphan, who was stolen from his poor life and was put into a new one of luxury. It just says that there's a doctor who has magical abilities, but a failed assassination pulls her and the guy together. They're involved with the rag picker king who rules the criminal underworld. This one just had the 2nd book released, I think this year. This is like a new series from Cassandra Clare, and this one was part of a 3 books for $2 deal in the Salvation Army in Glen Innes. So when Phil and I went on that day, like they just had so many good books and they like kept pulling more books out from the back, and they were like popular books, but like it looks brand new. Also the map at the start, that looks sick. The last fantasy book again is another book that I have read, and I am beyond excited to have this book in my hands because I have been trying to find this series secondhand for about 10 years or so, and it's really impossible to find because I read the series when I was 16 in high school and I absolutely loved it. I've got the first book on my shelf and I have been trying to find the last 2 books. I managed to get the 2nd book in the series. This is Until I Die by Amy Plum. It just says, can love last longer than forever? So basically the first book is Die For Me, and you follow this girl who moves to Paris to be with her aunt because her mum has died, or it's like her grandmother. I can't remember exactly who she goes with. She meets this guy who risks his life every single day, and he's not quite human. If you really enjoyed Twilight growing up, then you will really like this series. I went to a bookstore in Tauranga when Phil and I went for our friend's wedding, and it's like a second-hand bookstore, and I asked the lady if she had like a bunch of titles, and she said that she didn't have any of the ones that I wanted, but she would take the name of them, and then if she got them in, she would give me a call, and then I could just bank transfer her the money and she would post it. And so she messaged me to say that she got this book in, and so I was like, oh yes please, I will take it. So this one I ended up getting from Xander Books in Papamoa. This one was a little bit more pricey because I did have to pay for shipping. So this one was $12.70. In the actual store it would have been $5. This is the most recent book that I have got from this entire haul, and I'm literally stoked. I love this cover. We might do some general fiction. This book here again is another like OG Booktok book, and I have heard great things about it, and I have actually since getting it read this book. I actually just finished this last week I think, and I really enjoyed it. Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I probably butchered that. This is a little short story where you have 4 little stories within the story set at a cafe where you can travel back in time, or you can travel to the future, and you can meet one person who has been to this cafe before, and you just have the time from when the coffee is poured to when the coffee gets cold. This one again was only $2, found in the Cranford Hospice in Napier in Hawke's Bay. The last 2 general fiction books were both part of the buy 3 books for $2 in the Salvation Army in Glen Innes up here in Auckland. Found Brit Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman. I have not actually read anything by Frederick Bachman. I've actually got a few of his books. There's another one of his books that I've got in this haul. I know that he is a well-loved author, and so I'm really hoping that I enjoy his books. And I hadn't really seen anyone talk about this. You're following Brit Marie, who seems like a busybody, but It says, hidden inside her is a woman who has bigger dreams and a warmer heart than anyone around her imagines. She is alone for the first time in a decade. She spent her life making choices for other people, and I think it just is her like trying to find herself again. The last general fiction book that I have got is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. Again, I know that a lot of people absolutely love Kristen Hanna's writing. I have not read anything by her, but I've heard that it's best to start with either this one or The Nightingale or The Woman. There is a 13-year-old who is coming of age in a really difficult time. Parents are in a rough relationship. It's just her like growing up in this really difficult family and then her meeting a guy. I know that Kristen Hanna's books are like pretty emotional, so when I'm in a mood to cry, I will pick up this book. And again, I thought for getting this in like a 3 for $2 deal, like you absolutely cannot go wrong. We will do a sci-fi book because it is the only sci-fi book that I have got. This is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amel L. Mota. This one was a winner of the 2020 Hugo and Nebula Awards for the best novella. I know a lot of people have read this. It's also really short. It's like just under 200 pages. It seems like the world is dying and there is a letter that is found. I think the letter was written by 2 rivals. Are they like pen pals that like go through time? I don't know. That's kind of all that I kind of know about this. This one was again from the Salvation Army in Glen Innes in Auckland when they had that 3 for $2 deal on books. We will do a mystery book, Blood in the Water by Caleb Roerig. It says Murder is No Day at the Beach, and it's like that hunter killer. I don't know if there's like a whole series of them, but hunter killer is like a subscription box with like a criminal investigation. I'm pretty sure it's all made up, but like you get like given clues and you've got to like figure out who like the murderer is. This one I actually found in a free little library and it just sounded really interesting, so I thought I would get it. Inspired by the hit murder mystery subscription game. The town of Barton Beach is a popular summer destination known for its surfing, sandy beaches and local restaurants like the Beachcomber, or at least it was until Flash Fremont washed up dead on the shore. Flash's 16-year-old nephew Zach is the only one who doesn't believe that Flash died in a freak surfing accident. Zach is determined to find out what really happened to his uncle out in the water, but his investigation reveals more than a few suspects, from old surfing rivals to Zach's own father. As Zach keeps asking questions, more people start showing up dead. Flash's killer is still out there. If Zach isn't careful, his blood could end up in the water next. So honestly, could be quite a good thriller to read in the summer. We will do a couple of classics. So I have got a children's classic and then a normal classic. So like the older classic that I have got is Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. This is like a love story turned tragedy, and I've never read Romeo and Juliet. I've never read anything by Shakespeare. This one again was also free from one of those little libraries around my area. And then the children's classic that I managed to find is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. I love this edition of Charlotte's Web. I think the cover is really cute. This one here just follows a little girl who grows up on a farm and she friends a pig who is about to get slaughtered, but she like saves the pig. The pig meets a spider. This I have actually read. I read this in school when I was younger, and I've been trying to collect some children's classics because I want to get into reading classics, but I feel like it's easier to start with children's classics because they're a bit more digestible. This one I actually found at a secondhand book place on K Road. I literally think it's just called Secondhand Books in the Auckland CBD. This was only $8, and Phil and I had never been into this bookstore before. We will do some thrillers. Sticking with that same shop, the other book that I managed to find, Ace of Spades. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this author's name because I will 100% get it wrong. It says, how can you play the game when the cards are stacked against you? I feel like this again is like an OG Booktok book that I have not read. I heard Rachel Catherine talk about this like years ago, and it's been on my list to buy for so long. The way that she described it, I was hooked. Hello Nevis High, it's me. Who am I? That's not important. All you need to know is I'm here to divide and conquer aces. So it's set at a private academy, anonymous texter Aces is bringing 2 students' dark secrets to light. Someone is out to get them both, someone who holds all the aces. Sounds really, really interesting. I'm pretty sure this is a YA thriller as well, so it'll be like a little bit more easy to stomach. And I do quite enjoy thrillers like set at schools. This one was a little bit more pricey at $10, but because I had it on my list and it had been on my list for ages, and it's really, really hard to find this book and the bookstores don't stock it here in New Zealand, I grabbed it and I'm very, very excited to give it a go. The Winners by Frederick Bachman. So again, another Frederick Bachman book. This one is actually the 3rd book in the Beartown trilogy. I have not read Beartown. It's on my list to read. Again, I feel like that was like the it book that people were reading last year. I'm pretty sure it like popped off on TikTok. The main reason I got the 3rd book is because I found it at like one of those little free libraries around my area. We have a book that my sister actually found for me, but she found it in an op shop. Dangerous Lies by Becca Fitzpatrick. It says she's not who she says she is and he will be her undoing. One of my favorite books of all time is Black Ice by Becca Fitzpatrick. So I am really, really excited to have another book to read by her that's another like YA thriller. This one here, it says, I really had to stop this. If I needed more reasons, the last guy I'd kissed had his future upended after getting involved with me. If I let Chet get close and Danny Belundo found me, Chet would become collateral damage. Stella Gordon's life is a lie. She does not belong in Thunder Basin, Nebraska. As the key witness in a murder trial, Stella is under witness protection, living a life she doesn't want. No one can know who she really is. I apologize if I'm in a slightly different position. My battery just died and I've just turned some lights on over here because we haven't lost the light, but it's getting really grey and cloudy outside, so I fear that the light is going to get very, very dark. The last thriller book that I found, Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I didn't even read the back of this book. I just saw that it was Riley Sager and I grabbed it. Last year I read The Only One Left by Riley Sager and I absolutely loved it. It's honestly up there with like one of my favorite thrillers of all time. This one I'm pretty sure was a new release last year. On July 15th, 1994, 10-year-old Ethan fell asleep in a tent next to his best friend Billy. In the morning, Ethan woke up alone. Billy was never seen again. 30 years later, Ethan has returned to his childhood home, still desperate for answers. Who took Billy? Plagued by bad dreams and insomnia, he begins to notice strange things happening on his street under the cover of darkness. Someone is prowling the cul-de-sac when no one is awake to see them. Is the culprit still out there? This isn't a bad neighborhood. These aren't bad people. Honestly, sounds fascinating, has me hooked. This one was also only $2 from the Henderson Hospice, I think. Yes, in Auckland, and again, that op shop, I generally find a lot of good books there. Some psychological thrillers. Another book that I've had on my radar to find for a while is Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. It says the truth won't stay buried. I'm pretty sure I either heard Rachel Catherine talk about this, or maybe Destiny Sidwell or Haley in Bookland. So it follows 3 siblings who are always told like how lucky they are. They were raised by a foster mum, but it says their childhood wasn't the fairy tale everyone thinks it was, and a body is discovered under the home that they grew up in, and I think it's just like trying to figure out who killed them. This one here I actually found at a free little library in my local area, which was really nice. Another book that I found in a free little library in my local area, Vanishing Girls by Lauren Oliver. I like some of this author's work, but not all of her work. I read Before I Fall, I think last year, and I really did not like it, but then I've read the first 2 books in the Delirium trilogy by this author, and I've really, really loved that trilogy so far. So I'm gonna give another standalone of hers a go and see what I think. This is it. Somehow in these pictures, the mystery of the accident is contained and the explanation for Dara's subsequent behavior for the silences and disappearances. Don't ask me how I know, I just do. I'm excited to see kind of where it goes from there. The last book that I found in the psychological thriller category, Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. To be honest, I didn't even really read the back of this. I just saw it was Sally Rooney and so I grabbed it. I've got Normal People by her. I'm still yet to read it, but yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what I think, because I know a lot of people really Love that book, and I know a lot of people really love this. So you're just following Frances, who is 21. She's a student in Dublin and an aspiring writer, and at night she performs spoken words with her best friend. They're interviewed and befriended by a well-known journalist who's married to an actor, and then I think they get like invited to all these like fancy house parties and holidays. I guess we'll see how this goes. If this has cheating in it, then I will probably get rid of it because I don't really like to read about that sort of stuff. But this one was only $3 from the SPCA and Three Kings. Some non-fiction. So I have found 3 memoirs. So I'll do these 2 first because I found them in the same trip, because I went with my sister to like a bunch of those free little libraries, and they weren't from the same free little library, but they were in like the same trip. I've heard nothing about this. This is The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Bythell. So you literally just follow him as he owns a bookstore and kind of like what his day-to-day life looked like. The next memoir I'm really excited to read because I have known about this case for so long, and I've seen other people find her book in their little free libraries, and I've been wanting to read her story, A Stolen Life by J.C. Dugard. So if you don't know her story, she was kidnapped when she was 10, I think. She was kept by this like older couple, and she was discovered 20 years later, I think, when she's like 30, by like a police officer who just had this gut feeling that something was wrong with this couple out in town, and turns out she was right and she was rescued. And yeah, I just think she has immense courage and strength. The last memoir I found whilst we were in Hawke's Bay, so this one was from the Cranford Hospice in Napier. It was only $1, Not Without My Daughter by Betty Mahmoodi with William Hoffa. Phil, Rachel and I watched the movie to this in lockdown way back in the day. This woman marries this like guy who is in like the Islam religion, and he takes her back to his country with their daughter, and it's under the premise of like him like wanting to introduce her to his family because they didn't come to their wedding because they had their wedding in America. She basically gets trapped there. Islam have very strict rules around like what women can and can't do. She basically just wants to try and escape and get her daughter out because she wants to go back to America, but her husband got like really controlling and like refused her to leave basically. So this is just like their story, and I know that the daughter has also written a book as well. I really enjoy a good memoir. I'm quite like a nosy person, and like being able to like live someone else's life for a little bit while you're reading their book just really fascinates me. Almost done. We've got 2 genres left, so I'll do some Christian reads and then I'll end with romance. Christian fiction book, Sons of Encouragement by Francine Rivers. So basically Francine Rivers writes a lot based on the Bible, and so this one here I think is just following 5 men who are from the Bible, but she's kind of like gave them a bit more of a story than what we know of through history and in the Bible. So you're following Aaron, who was Moses' brother, Caleb, he was around the time of Joshua and Moses, Jonathan, who is David's best friend, I think, Amos, who was a prophet, and Silas, who I think is Peter and Paul's scribe. 5 men who quietly changed eternity. There is also a woman version of this which I have got. It's called A Lineage of Grace. This one was $2 from the Dove Hospice in Glen Innes. The last Christian book that I got is actually a non-fiction, and it is currently my Christian non-fiction read, Walking with God Through Pain and Suffering by Timothy Keller. This one, as you would assume, is just talking about suffering. At the moment it talks about the theory of suffering and like how the Christian view of suffering compares with other religions, and as you go through the book it gives you practical tips to deal with suffering. This one is also a hardback, which is really nice. This one was $4 from the SPCA and Three Kings. The thing I really like about that op shop is that it's open on Sundays. Phil and I quite often will just like pop in. Last but not least, we have got some romance. So quite a lot of romance. In romance, actually, I do also have some books from Facebook Marketplace. These two books I'm gonna do together because they are a duology and I got them from the same seller on Facebook. They are these two books here, Anatomy and Immortality by Dana Schwartz. I heard Rachel Catherine talk about these books and it sounded fascinating. You are following this girl who wants to be a surgeon. She lives in a time when that's kind of frowned upon, so I think she makes a deal with a guy who is a resurrection man. So I think he like digs up graves and must like sell the bodies or something for a profit. She makes a deal with him to dig up these bodies for her to learn about anatomy and surgery on, then she'll pay him. And so I think it's like a romance between the two of them. I also just love these covers. So obviously Anatomy, her dress fades out to look like a heart, and Immortality, her dress fades out to be a brain. I really hope I enjoy these. It is marketed as like a gothic romance, so a little bit different to what I normally read. I got these for $20 total. A couple of books that I got as free library discards from my local library. I've heard nothing about this. This one is Accidentally in Love by Belinda Misson. It says sometimes romance blossoms where you least expect it. This one here, it says that Catherine has quit her job, decided to move back home and broken up with a guy she thought was the one. She has a plan to open her own art gallery, and then she meets a guy who is a local artist. He's quite stubborn. It's just a romance between the two of them. I'm quite like artsy myself, so like reading about someone else who is quite cool as well. This one again is a more recent pickup from the library. 4 Weekends and a Funeral by Ellie Palmer. This one is blurbed at the top by Abby Jimenez. You found the right guy at the dead wrong time. So you're following a 30-year-old thrill-seeking person who arrives at her ex-boyfriend's funeral to discover that no one knows that he had dumped her. And she agrees to play like the grieving girlfriend, and then she's having to pack up his apartment. Best friend is there as well. The best friend doesn't want this girl anywhere near him, but they're like forced to spend a lot of time together. The next book that I have, again, I'm really excited to have because I had this on my Christmas list and I didn't receive it for Christmas, but I really wanted to buy it, and then it came up on Facebook Marketplace for $5 and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like I'm absolutely getting this. First Time Caller by BK Borison. So I read Love Like Farms by BK Borison like a couple of years ago in Vlogmas. It wasn't like my most favorite Christmas story, but it was like quite cute and wholesome, and I did want to read more from that author. So then she brought out this book here and I'm really happy to have this. Love the cover. It's probably one of my favorite covers that I have on my bookshelf. You are following this guy who has a romance hotline, but he himself doesn't believe in love anymore, and then this girl calls in for dating advice for her mother, and then I think it's kind of like a romance between the two of them because I think he is trying to help her mum to get a date. So very cute. Oh my goodness, I apologize if you can just hear the rain outside. It's just started like bucketing down. Another book that I have read since buying it, and again this was part of the 3 books for $2 deal at the Salvation Army in Glen Innes, Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. So this one here follows the story of a mum telling her 3 daughters basically about her life and how she grew up as an actor in Hollywood and like all about her love life and things like that. It was really interesting. I actually listened to this as an audiobook because Meryl Streep narrates it, and it's like set on like an orchard for some of it. One of my mum's friends who we like grew up with, she lives on an orchard, and I come from a family of like 3 girls as a whole, so it just felt very reminiscent of like things that I've been through in my childhood, so that was really cool. The next book that I picked up again is a library discard, and I don't actually have my physical copy at the moment because I have lent it to my sister Anya. The Switch by Beth O'Leary. I actually don't know much about this book at all, but I have read The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, absolutely loved it, and then I read The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary leery, and I enjoyed the present timeline from that book. So I just thought I would grab it, and seeing as it was a library discard as well, I was like, it's free, it's not going to cost me anything. So you have a high-flying London professional on the brink of burnout. She's forced to take a 2-month sabbatical after a work project goes wrong. She goes to her grandmother's cottage. I think her and her grandmother end up like swapping lives because she just wants a bit of a break. Honestly, sounds so cute and wholesome. Another library discard, Maybe Now by Colleen Hoover. I have read quite a lot of Colleen Hoover's books. I've read the It Ends With Us duology, so that's It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us, November 9, Confess, Verity, and Layla, and I've enjoyed all of them except for Layla. It says, what is more important, friendship, loyalty, or love? Colleen Hoover and Griffin Peterson collaborate once again to bring fans of Maybe Someday back into the musical world of Ridge Lawson and Sydney Blake. Follow up to the New York Times best-selling novel Maybe Someday. So maybe it's the second book. Right, we're almost done. We have 2 books left from another free little library around my local area. I found If We Ever Meet Again by Anna Huang. I've not read anything by this author. I have got Twisted Love by this author. This one is like the start of a different series. 1 year, 2 opposites, and a love that will blindside and ultimately shatter them. So you're following an aspiring interior designer who dreams of falling in love, and an ex-football star who thinks love is a con. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this because it seems like the guy is quite cocky. It's not my favorite type of guy, but I'm going to give it a go and see what I think. And since it was free, no harm done if I don't love it. And then we are on to the last book for this haul. I know this has probably been a very long haul. Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Again, I feel like this is another one of those OG Booktok books that a lot of people just absolutely love. I heard Rachel Catherine talk about this, and so I wanted to give it a go. Today she hates him, tonight she puts up with him, tomorrow maybe she's already fallen for him. The last day of senior year, there's like these high school rivals. They have like a senior class game at the end of their graduation that takes them all over Seattle as like a farewell before they like go off to uni. And so I think that they both get put in the same team, kind of a bit more of like an enemies to lovers kind of romance. So very intrigued. This one I got for $5 from Xander Books in Papamoa. There was honestly so many more books there that I could have got, but I was restrained and I just got this one. But there we go, guys. Those are all of the thrifted books that I have found recently. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Please make sure to turn on the notifications and check out my social media. It's always linked down below in the description box. If you guys would like to watch more book related content, I have an entire playlist called Reading on my channel. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts down below. Obviously no spoilers, and if you want to read any after watching this video, let me know that as well. I will love you and leave you. I'm so excited for all of these books, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!